All right. Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Ella Thorpe with Tustin Longevity Center. This is our uh, Monday night. Um, I think it's March 7th, 2022. We meet twice a week. Now we are on Fridays at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then we are at uh, what is the other time? Mondays, just like we are starting now at 6 o'clock. And we are a group of alternative, complementary, functional doctors here at Tustin Longevity Center. I'm Dr. Ella Thorpe, and the other five of us, we see patients, all kinds of patients come to us. And we have our take on balancing integrative medicine with the standard of care, standard medical practice. We're medical doctors and naturopaths and a physician assistant. And so we try and give you the best of both worlds. And today is not meant to be individual answers for specific problems, but rather general approaches, general education as to how we would approach questions you might have. So let's see. I don't have any emails from a prior visit, so I'm trying to look up if I missed any questions from the last one. I was going to try and look at that. That was from the, I think, the 1st or the 28th. Monday the 28th it would have been, I think. I got my other computer laptop here so I could maybe reference it. I'm trying to look for the 28th. I don't see it offhand. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, there it is. And I recall that I didn't get to all those questions, so I will look up those questions, and if we have time, I'll try and get a hold of those as well. Yeah, I think this was on Monday a week ago, and we got down to, oh, well, it doesn't show it for me either on this one. So I can't pull them up. I thought I might be able to pull them up. But anyway, we're starting to see questions come in, and we will start with the first question from Jennifer. Aloha. Oh, you must be in Hawaii, Jennifer. Aloha, Dr. Rita. Is Vascuzyme processed differently than VitalZyme XC? It is not enteric-coated. How does it work as a systemic enzyme since it doesn't bypass the stomach? Well, the argument is that it probably does bypass the stomach in the way that each of the granulars components of it are made. And so, yes, it's designed for trying to bypass the stomach acid digestion phase. But if you talk about the VitalZyme XC, that's a pharmaceutical drug with a lot more investment into its development. And so the entire coating is on the outside of it. You can see very clearly. So Vascuzyme is the best ability for American standard for trying to encapsulate within the capsule the tiny granules, as opposed to the big capsule from the pharmaceutical in Japan that makes VitalZyme. But they're both reported, and when the most important thing is looking at clinical benefits. So when I have patients over many, many years, we're talking, decades, and especially in the last 5 or so years, Vascuzyme, with its upgrade to include serrapeptase, which is probably one of the most key ingredients, has reduced inflammation in my patient population in a measurable clinical setting so that I can actually see the benefit to them. So it's not a question of does it pass and get into the intestine where it can then be absorbed. We know it does because clinically it has worked in that fashion. So does it work better than or equivalent to Vitalzyme? I tend to think it's a good competitor. I have to say I really don't see a difference in outcomes. Probably the reason why I take the Vitalzyme XC is because they are smaller, and I take so many supplements as it is. Anytime I can take a smaller size little capsule, that I'll opt for that. I would just as easily use the Vascuzyme. So hopefully that answers your question, Jennifer. EH says, hi, doctor. Besides meat as a main part of a meal, which option is least inflammatory to add vegetables, cheese or other full fat dairy or nuts and seeds for someone recovering from eczema? Well, if the dairy is raw, you have the greatest compatibility with mammalian absorption. All plant material is foreign to mammals, okay? It's just that's the way it is. All plant material is foreign. So that's why we have to break it down and digest it into amino acids that are recognizable. So if you're going to ask that question, I'm going to say if it's truly raw dairy, that's the direction I would go. So if you're fighting eczema, the least amount of immunological sorting out that you have to do until you're healed and your cell membranes are repaired, it's kind of like repairing the roof on your house. You want to try and get that roof repaired as quickly as you can. You want to do an efficient covering of it in case there's a light rain or wind or things that blow by through the days. And then once you get it repaired, then you can start using more variety, but always be guarded that the more indiscriminate, careless eating and variety you take in every day, or repetitious foods you take in consistently every day, the more likely you will re-damage the membrane on your cells or the roof of your house if you're indiscriminate and just letting all kinds of debris hit your housetop, your rooftop, and damage it again. So let's see. Hopefully that helps you explain it, EH. And then, of course, we can do tests, EH. We could do immunofood labs. There are other. I like Immuno because they've done this for nearly 50 years now, and that's all they do. And that company stands or falls on the quality of its IgG immunosensitivities, split sampling, and consistency of results, and clinical outcome on patients. So these other companies that do a plethora of testing, they aren't as dedicated to the industry of IgG immuno antibodies to the foods. And there can be more range of air. That's why I use immunofoods. It's because it's the only thing that they produce, and they fall or stand on the quality of what they do. That's why I use it. So if you did an immunofood, if you stayed with dairy that's raw, and you healed, and you did this very well for 3 months, it takes about 3 months to heal the gut if you do it very well like that. And then you introduce maybe some other vegetables. I start with cooked vegetables because they are easier to digest and less immunologically stressful on the body. And then I would rotate your vegetables, and then I would try and leave a lot wild, spicy, entertaining food to, at most once a week or every 2 weeks, because we're all aging and we're all developing a leaky, injured gut, and our rate of repair is diminishing. So you got one roof, you better repair it and take good care of your roof. Get good shingles on it, eat well. All right, then EH goes on to say, is plain yogurt a good choice for getting probiotics in your diet? I'm going to say no. if that were so, I wouldn't have as many patients. I don't have any clinical data on that. I do a lot of complete digestive stool analysis that looks at the predominant flora besides a boatload of other indicators in the stool for digestion. And a large majority of patients have been already eating what they think is a very good over-the-counter probiotic or yogurt. And these are not good enough. But it's always a mixed bag. It's not any one thing. So if you're eating a wild entertainment, spicy, changing all the time diet, and you're eating all manner of hours during the day, and you're very high on your carbs and very low on your water, and you're inactive, and you don't take any enzymes or digestive enzymes, and if your blood type is A, especially if you're younger, the older you get, these multiple insults harm you at a rate in which the probiotic, no matter how good it is, can't solve all the problems. So I use that analogy of the circus where they have like 10 poles and they got to spin a plate and keep them all spinning. And this one over here starts wobbling by the time they're working on the 10th setup, and they have to run over here and spin it to get it going. So it is a multifactorial. Life is all about many factors being managed at the same time. I'm not against yogurt. I'm for raw yogurt. I'm not for, there's a particular brand, Cobain or something like that. I don't like that brand. But raw yogurt, if you can make on your own from your home with a yogurt maker, is leaps and bounds better, impactful. Then you have the argument, if you take it every day and you have leaky gut, you're increasing the likelihood that even though this good food, your homemade yogurt, is going to leak through a damaged point on your gastrointestinal lining. And so remember, it's a catch-22. So you want to try and rotate your diet. You want to try and eat as simplistic and not make food entertainment, but rather to be reparative of the protein and fat and minerals we're made of. Then you want to eat low carb. And then you want to eat in more of a window of time instead of multiple hours throughout the day. You never want to eat late, these kind of things. Margot says, on a low carb, intermittent fasting, simple rotation diet, are small amounts of organic stevia permitted? Yes, Margot. We, of course. Here's the other thing I mention about stevia is we are trained to be such seekers of sweet. We have been propagandized, you might say. We have been marketed to respond to that sweet taste all the time. That drives our likelihood of taking in too many carbs. And so we try to say, be careful that you're not trying to recreate the sweet environment that's so harmful. So as long as you use it modestly, then I would say, yes, go ahead and use some stevia. Margot went on to say, you do not recommend calcium supplements for anyone. That's correct. Even for osteoporosis, that is correct. For one should get calcium from food. Yes, that is correct. You recommend TLC's multimineral, which contains calcium. Yes, it is a base creation for a bare minimum, and the diet itself. If we eat organic fish, wild meat, free-range poultry, wild fish, and things like this, they are going to be eating such a variety of sources of minerals that we'll get a tremendous amount of minerals, and meats and the protein in fish and poultry is so nutrient dense in minerals. It's probably the highest sources in something like a clam or a mussel or oyster or something like that. So yeah, and the beautiful thing is it's already organically chelated. The animal already chelated that calcium into a usable form. So we only use Albion as our source for our, because that's a company that does the amino acid chelation to try and assist in absorption. Most of the minerals over the counter are not chelated with amino acids, and their absorption is maybe 6 to 8% of the listed amount on the bottle. All right, so calcium that is in supplemental form is very often associated with abnormal calcium deposits in cell tissues that are irritated or inflamed, like at a joint where there's chronic tendinous inflammation, or stress at the joint of a blood vessel bifurcating where there's a lot of tension there. And this is how we can build up micro endothelial lining injury. And if it isn't solved with enough water, less sticky carbs, better flow, regular exercise, good sleep, enzymes, then that will be a place for depositing this extra exogenous calcium. We never have a use for calcium at 1,500 milligrams as a dump in our stomach all at once. The calcium you're going to get in a piece of meat. Let me get my book here just a moment. Oops, I got the wrong book. Well, it looks like someone took my encyclopedia of food values by Netter. So in general, if I can remember from many years of looking at that in the past, let's say you're going to have a 6-ounce piece of steak. You might be getting something like 70 milligrams of calcium from it in a very bioavailable form. So what is that? That's how many times, thousands of percent less than in a 1,500 milligram capsule. So no, I never give it supplementally like that, Margot. And then why is the calcium in multimin not a problem if calcium supplements are generally discouraged? Hopefully I already answered that. The amount in there and the amino acid chelate is beneficial. It's not excessive. And it is, in general, I'd be answering questions all day long if I didn't put it in there. Why isn't it in there? Why isn't it in there? So I have had a multivitamin in my past that I didn't put any in there. And, it just, people didn't use it for all the other wonderful things in there. Not that calcium a little bit isn't good. It's just there's so much misinformation on physiology and what calcium is doing. We have such a diet that is so damaged with the population of marketing and environmental toxins that cell membrane damage is so large. The likelihood of that calcium, if excessively taken, is going to be deposited in these micro-inflammatory damaged tissues. So that's the reason why. Dolphin says, major skin issues. I eat the diet you recommended. Bleeding under the skin and bruising. All right, well, let's see. The older we get, the thinner the dermis is going to be. The dermis is going to thin out with aging. That means the capillaries that are in the bottom part of that dermis here, if the dermis is thinning out and you bump it, your capillary is much closer to the surface than it was when you were 50 or 45 or 35. And therefore, you can get these capillary bleeds. We use natural hormones to try and help thicken the skin, to keep the epidermis and dermis as thick as reasonably possible. we try and eat a rich protein diet to help make the collagen elastin, because remember, estradiol helps with collagen and elastin. And so, Dolphin, I don't know who you are, but if you're having the bruising, this is probably age. This is probably a thinning epidermis. Hopefully you're on some natural hormones, and it sounds like you're eating well. EH says, I have read on WebMD that dead skin cells and bacteria pile up if you don't take a couple of showers a week. Is that true? No, it's not. The thing is, if you want to, you can take a towel and just do a dry brush if that's what you wish. But the fact of getting water and then the water being warm and there being soap in the water very often is associated with dissolving and lifting off the skin oils that are very limited. Remember, our American diet has hurt the essential oils, linoleic and alpha-linoleic acid, so much that it ruins the cell membrane. We age too quickly. So that's the reason behind it. The high carb diet we eat stimulates through the action of insulin skin tags and actinic keratotic lesions, where you get a buildup of the dry layers, and that's often from a higher carb diet. So that wouldn't happen if we were low carb and we were getting healthy fats. So there you have it. Margaret, let's see. My brother got out of hospital 2 weeks ago, was in 10 days with a pneumonia. Recovery regimen, he's on oxygen still. Did 5 days of ivermectin, breathing treatments with nebulizer, and light supplements. Well, it sounds like he still needs to be on ivermectin. Otherwise, he'll probably wind up with long COVID symptomology. It sounds like he needs to be on systemic enzymes. Many of these protocols don't have the enzymes. His hydration is important. How much water is he drinking? Many of these programs are too low on the vitamin D. In general, I would put him on 50,000 vitamin D for 5 days. That's 50 and 3 more zeros. 50,000 vitamin D once a day for 5 days, and then drop down to 10,000 every day. So underdosing of the vitamin D is very often a problem. And then, taking the things like vitamin C, N-acetylcysteine, and so forth, I would follow the protocols. But underdosing of the D, getting back on ivermectin long-term, staying well hydrated, and using systemic enzyme would probably be a very good direction to take. Hopefully that helps. Dolphin also says, also tendon pain, hip flexor, and hip capsule. Feels like most of my meals are supplements, less calories than my meals. Okay, well, Dolphin, I don't know who you are. I don't know what your weight is. I don't know if you're male or female. So all these things are impactful. I don't know what your age is. So I would say the older we get, the more it is imperative we work hard to eat enough protein and fat if we want to live long, robust lives, and hormones that help us to repair and build our elastin, collagen, fibers, adequate hydration. So all I can say is that in the patients that I have, and including myself at nearly 70, I marvel and I give the Lord thanks all the time that I am so pain-free and I have no joint limitations, no hip pain. And yet, when I was a younger doctor, I thought, oh my, when I get to be 50 or when I get to be 60 or 70, and oh my goodness, now I'm older than many of these people that are having these problems. And so I really do think enzymes, the water, the hormones, the limitation on eating in a window of time, all these things make make the difference there. So if you're not a patient here, Dolphin, maybe you can find a functional doctor by going to ACAM, American College for the Advancement of Medicine.org. They're the ones who teach chelation therapy and sponsor a lot of forward-thinking, purposeful research for the doctors. As far as taking supplements and less calories, all I can say is that you have to eat about 50 grams of protein a day, and use it depending on your age. Especially if you're an A, you need it now, but if you're over roughly 60 years old, you probably need a digestive enzyme so you can utilize the fats and the proteins you're eating every day. Let's see here. Carol says, is there a big difference between glutathione cell defense and liposomal glutathione? I don't know the two different products. Liposomal glutathione means that the glutathione, which is a water-soluble antioxidant, is wrapped by an envelope of fats. This and the research behind this, as separate from all this gene therapy with mRNA nanoparticles with lipid nanomembranes with polyethylene glycol, that's a whole nother topic. Liposomal is talking about phospholipids, which we have to have. I like that. I think it sounds like it's good. I don't know the product. I don't know if it's a good product. You would have to test it and then have your doctor check a glutathione level to make sure you're not just wasting money and buying a name brand without having clinical testing. Glutathione cell defense, I'm unfamiliar with the product. Let's see if I can call it up quickly and take a quickie peek. Glutathione cell defense. All right, so glutathione cell defense. Let's see if I can see what this is made of. Well, it's not telling me if it's liposomal. I've worked with non-liposomal glutathione for decades, and it does get absorbed. I would take it on an empty stomach. That's when I take mine in the morning. I do take glutathione. I have my glutathione here. I take on an empty stomach every morning. So it doesn't look like it's wrapped with liposomal elements. So you see, we need research and we need financing to help doctors. First, we need to train them to even understand how and when to use and why we use and where physiologically glutathione is in the body. We need to greatly enhance doctors' work training in that. But then we need nutraceutical research so we can answer these questions, just like a physician does reference on all these drugs that are yay thick, but there's no money for it. So you're left with doctors like myself and just our living experience. So I'll tell you whether it was liposomal or non-liposomal, glutathione has been absorbed. There's arguments saying that the size of the molecule of glutathione is too big to pass through the cell membrane in the gut, so that the precursors, the amino acids and acetylcysteine would be wiser to take. So I take both. I take N-acetylcysteine and I take glutathione, and I'm eating a rich amino acid diet, and that's the best we can do. And I seem to be doing well. My patients seem to be doing well. I wish I had science to quote you on that. Kaya said, can the digestive enzymes be taken at the same time as the supplement meds DHEA, vitamins, etc., or should they be spaced out otherwise? So digestive enzymes means you're using that to help you digest a meal. And if you're digesting a meal, you take orthodigestive enzymes with or after that meal. You're surely welcome, and it is okay to take DHEA and other vitamins at the same time. That's fine. The only restriction I have with my patients is the systemic enzymes like Vascuzyme or Vitalzyme. These are designed to be taken on an empty stomach, so they'll quickly pass through any stomach acidity and get absorbed as quickly as possible into the gut. That's the only real restriction that there is. Marcia says, I am a TLC patient, so I know what you suggest for a healthy diet. I have not changed anything. But in the last couple of months, I often feel lightheaded in the later evening. Why? Lightheaded in the later evening. I probably would want to ask you, how late are you eating? How much water are you drinking every day? Are you taking a digestive enzyme with your dinners? What is your dinner? Do you have a rich component of healthy fats and proteins? Because the higher the carbohydrate content, the more tired, sometimes people call it lightheaded, we feel. Very often, like eating turkey dinner, you eat so much that you feel tired, lightheaded. You sit down, you can take a nap after a big, big carbohydrate-rich, immunologically stimulating diet. But there are many things, Marcia, that could be an issue. So I don't know when I've seen you last. Are you exercising? Are you sleeping well? Are you taking your progesterone? That can make you tired if you take it too early in the evening. I don't recall if you're on blood pressure medicine. So again, this is not meant to be personal advice. So Marcia, I'm going to say, if you have a concern, please contact the office 714-544-1521 to remind me if you have a concern, you want this addressed, to look into your chart and have us call you back and get more details on this. So lightheaded in the evening, we need to address other issues as well. Want to make sure you're not having diarrhea, having black tarry bowel movements, blood in the stool, various things. So do call the office and remind me, because this won't remind me. I'll forget it by the time I'm done with this right here. So do call the office. All right. You go on to say, why do you say to eat the skin of the chicken? Well, the skin of the chicken is so full of healthy fats. The phospholipids and the fats that are in the chicken are very important for our health, because we are made of protein and fat. This is all protein and fat. There's no carbohydrates here, none, zip. There's no carbohydrates here. We have to eat plenty of fat and protein. And the skin of the chicken, everyone was made to be afraid of it through a corrupt international crime syndicate called the healthcare system and pharmaceutical system. Yet that's the very material that we need. And the cholesterol that's in the skin of the chicken, the structure of the cell membrane, every cell membrane must have this in it. So that's why I say that. Now, hopefully you'll get an organic, free-range chicken whenever you eat it. And hopefully you don't buy chicken that's that Kentucky Fried Chicken that has all this crispy, hydrogenated vegetable seed oil, destroyed trans fatty acids in it. You know, I'm talking about a roasted chicken free range. Okay, Jennifer says, a relative with osteoporosis wants to take Evenity, an anabolic which helps build new bone and slows down bone loss. Are anabolics safe to take? Evenity. Let me write that in here. Evenity. Well, let's see. Science-based. Evenity is romosozumab, is an anabolic sclerostin inhibitor that stimulates bone formation and decreases bone resorption. It requires monthly injection. It carries a black box warning about increased risk of heart attacks, strokes, cardiovascular deaths. Well, you see, Jennifer, I have 80-year-olds that with normal bone densities who came to me with osteoporosis, and we started them on a healthy lifestyle, stomping, natural hormones, testosterone, DHEA, vitamin K2, appropriate vitamin D levels, minerals, multi-minerals. Maybe we put in some strontium and stuff. And we find that our patients have all done well without putting themselves at this risk. So I would hope she would try and find a functional medical doctor, skilled and experienced in natural hormone, vitamin K2, vitamin D3, strontium, stomping, stomping like you're having a temper tantrum and so forth. And that's what I would suggest. Susie, hello. Is there a way to treat Hashimoto's besides hormones? Well, Susie, yes. Hashimoto's, we believe, is a autoimmune from the corrupt diet creating inflammation and our immune system reacting to the foods, their genetic modified state, their glyphosated state, their poor trans fatty acid, high carb, poor bacterial growth that results with a gut that is being harmed. That creates a breakdown of the one cell membrane thick gut membrane. That damage then has food leak through that hole in your gut right into your body. That alarms the immune system, and that crossover reaction of that alarm can often be perceived and is to the thyroid, and that creates an attack on thyroid cell matrix, which creates the Hashimoto's. That's the name of the doctor who put that description together, but he did not ascribe it to the gut. He just described a lymphocytic infiltration into the thyroid gland. Now we believe we understand it's from the gut, because every time we put people on these very low immunogenic food diets for about 3-4 months, a one menu day, eating in a 6-hour window only, never eating late, using cell membrane repair, phospholipid, NT powder, SBI Protect powder, which are helpful for the proteins and the immunoglobulins to protect your gut. Probiotic 225. These healthy bacteria, proteins, and phospholipids help repair the gut quicker, better, faster. And with a healthy diet, if we do the food, immunoallergies, then we can kind of sort through and get a better idea of how you're reacting. And we can watch the thyroid peroxidase and the thyroglobulin antibodies decline. We use systemic enzymes to help disinflame the body naturally without using steroids. Now, it might be necessary in a storm to use medications, to use steroids and prednisone, but for the most part, we can do this without any of those things. EH says, I've heard that linoleic acid is fattening. Instead, stearic acid is better. Can you address that? Yes, whoever you heard that from is foolish. That's absolutely foolish. Now, I'll tell you where I think the thought is being derailed from. If you're talking about destroyed linoleic acid that has been hydrogenated in processed foods, which are very much all these shelf life foods that are rich in carbohydrates, then the answer would be yes. But it's not fattening because of the linoleic acid. It's the damage to the linoleic acid and the stuff it's mixed in that potato chip or that Cheeto or that Dorito or that cookie or that pastry or whatever it is that's making you fat. So that's the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. That's what it is. Okay, not the linoleic acid. Okay, Libby says, if lab studies show a normal hemoglobin and hematocrit, decreased red blood cells, and an increased mean corpuscular volume, would you feel further workup was necessary? Also, might this cause fatigue? Well, the mean corpuscular volume is the size of the cell. And as we all age and we metabolically start having problems, our B vitamin usage diminishes, B12 in particular. Our hydrochloric acid production diminishes in our stomach, and the cells start to get bigger. As they get bigger, then the total number in any one little count block for the count is going to be reduced, even though your hemoglobin hematocrit will be the normal. So this sounds like it is a megaloblastic anemia, which is a B12 hydrochloric acid deficiency. And so we would recommend using orthodigestzyme with at least 2 of your meals every day. 2 capsules after your lunch and 2 after your dinner. And then with the TLC methyl B complex, that is the methylated B that is very valuable in repairing these anemias. So we've studied this and we have clinical results that are very efficacious. So it sounds like you have the description in this picture of megaloblastic anemia, which is a B12 hydrochloric acid anemia. And the next step I would do is beyond those good, well clinically studied supplements and be rechecked, say, in 6 to 8 weeks, and you should see improvement. Okay, stearic acid, correct. Yeah. Ralph says, all right, so Ralph or Raggi or whatever, that's a filthy site. Don't anyone check on that thing. That's pornography. So Blake, we got to get that guy off. All right. EH says, if carbs are not a major concern for a healthy person, are fruits the least anti-nutritive part of a plant? Let me see this. If carbs are not a major concern for a healthy person, are fruits the least anti-nutritive part of a plant? Well, I think it would depend on if you saw a doctor and they did your fructosamine level. That's the amount of the 5-member carbon ring fructose sticking to your proteins. That's an irreversible Maillard chemistry reaction. And the whole protein has to be broken down and removed, and that can take years. So you could drink a Coke today or have an ice cream today, and it might take years for the high fructose corn syrup in that sweetener to eventually get off your proteins. Or you could have a glass of juice today, and it'll take years to get rid of that high fructose corn syrup that's stuck to your proteins. So if you say sugar, well, sugar is it's a molecule of a 6-member glucose, and fructose a 5-member. So the 6 and the 5, it's a dimer. And so all granular sugar is 50% fructose. Now, they managed to patent and create a whole new horrible molecule called high fructose corn syrup. So we're in a pickle, folks. We have to really fight this because that's associated with all manner of disease and chronic aging. High fructose corn syrup, fructose. And that's probably why, if you said of all the choices in the plant kingdom, I think the fructose is the one that I would try to avoid. I just would, if I had to have a fruit, it would be berries. Things like a blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, raspberry, because they have the lowest amount of sugar in them, fructose. All righty. Carol says, is grapefruit a good fruit? It depends on your fructosamine level, Carol. And I know you're a patient here, but I can't recall what your fructose level is. I think, you have to just be very limited and cautious because we've unfortunately been exposed to way too much over the years and decades of this high fructose corn syrup, hidden even in our ketchup. It's kind of like being radiated without knowing it. And we are being radiated by Fukushima and by the jet stream from Chernobyl still. We still have impacts from that. That's one of the reasons why I take iodine every day. Let's see, Laura Scott says, hi, Dr. E. Hi. She goes on to say, what do you recommend for people who have long, stressful days and can't eat before 6:30? Adjust your system such that you're eating then. You get up at 6, have your breakfast, and then eat your dinner at lunch. Give up dinners. Really, it is so damaging on so many levels to eat after 6:30. If you could always be done by 7 p.m., I'll give you that 30 minutes. But you see, it isn't me who designed the earth, it's God. It isn't me who created the electromagnetic signaling for health, healing, repair, and digestion. It's God with the sun diminishing in the horizon. So I can't change that for you. So we all have to learn that optimal health, alertness, repair at night depends on not eating late. Those are the facts, ma'am, not me. I didn't make that rule up. So do the best you can to talk with your employer or whatever it is. Make arrangements that you're done sooner. Or, if it's an occasional thing, then make it a fasting day and just get the blessings of skipping that dinner and going to bed on a hungry stomach and getting additional repair and longevity that night. All righty, let's see. Let's see. I don't know how to say that. Sycophant and wide awake. Any suggestions for support with quitting a marijuana addiction for 30 years? I am 54 and I think I have metabolic disorder, menopausal, and need hormones, as well as undiagnosed sleep apnea. Yeah, the suggestion would be you need to get with a experienced functional doctor, functional medicine doctor, alternative, complementary, who understands how to balance the nuances of natural hormone repair, circadian rhythm, adrenal stress, dependency addictions, and almost everyone has. I'm probably addicted to coffee, so we all have addictions. And then you have to have a good working relationship with your doctor. Your doctor is not God. Your doctor is limited always in time, but hopefully your doctor is dedicated to their career and to their patients and trying to do the best they can, and having a good rapport with your doctor, having good intention, having enough time to try and at least get a plan going and a follow-up depending on the needs, and from weeks to a few months, so that you're being cared for and watched over. And that is healing also in itself, just a good relationship with a very good functional doctor. So that's what you need, rather than trying to presume various other things. Sycophant and wide awake. I think you need a good functional doctor. Just start there. acam.org, acam.org. If you live in the area, we have 5 clinicians now. We have 2 doctors who are out on their maternity leave. So now is not a good time to try and come, because I am overworked, believe me. So I'm looking for a doctor, preferably a male who loves the Lord more than money, because God always gives you enough money if you love him first. But I don't want to deal with corporate graduates. I just have nothing. I don't want anything to do with professional corporate graduates. I want people who feel it's a calling for their Lord to serve. If you know any, send them our way. Have them contact us at office@tlcdoctors.com. office@tlcdoctors.com. All right, Christina says, is there any way to help alleviate back pain caused from military years jumping off aircraft? Yes, many things. So systemic enzymes, number one, you've got to probably start using on an empty stomach 2 times a day, maybe even 3 times a day, Vascuzyme, 5 of them, or Vitalzyme. They're tinier to take, easier to swallow, 5 twice or 3 times a day. And you have to drink half your weight in water every single day. You have to eat a low-carb diet. You have to stop eating after 6:30 p.m. You have to stretch. I recommend something like Pilates or physical therapy. And then depending on your age, hormones help. Like I feel like the estradiol that I take every day helps me with my joints very, very much. And I've had my share of active duty and rappelling and jumping out of helicopters in my ROTC training and so forth. And I had a few bad falls. Anyway, long and short of it is that's the beginning of it. And hopefully that would be a help to you, Christina. All right. Let's see. Sycophant and wide awake said, I want to fast long term. I have gone 23 days on water only about 10 years ago, but I'm having a hard time this time. I have a terrible diet, but I'm addicted to sugar also. Yeah, so be realistic and be kind to yourself. God loved you enough to die for you, so you got to be kind to yourself too. And just start with restricting your eating only, let's say, from noon to 6 p.m. Absolutely. And then working to get the carbs out of that 6-hour window. And then once a week, eventually, when you're doing that, then try and get rid of the lunch and go from dinner to dinner and have a lower carb diet then. And then once you do that once a week for a month or so, then see if you can't extend that fast to go not only from dinner to dinner, but wait until the next day at lunch. So that's 36 hours. And that's how you build it. You just shave off a meal at a time so that suddenly you're 2 days and you're doing well. Little tricks, you might get a tablespoon of butter and put that in hot tea or hot black coffee. You could take a tablespoon of Parent Essential Clinicians Oil. That's the essential oils that we have here. Clinician's Preference Parent Essential Oils. Or I suppose you could get away with some extra virgin olive oil, but it's not as ideal because that's not really essential. But anyway, those would be some suggestions for you to help you. Sycophant goes on to say, and I don't want them to tell me I have COVID or that I need to get vaccinated. Oh, I missed something. I want to get detox, and I have so much pain, especially my feet. I'm sure I have insulin resistance at the least. I'm afraid to go to the doctor because they never really helped me. And you don't want to get vaccinated, of course. That's a whole nother ball of wax. The uh, the uh, the sick drive. I was looking at a chart today, and this chart was of maybe the top 30 countries in the world, and it was the Economic Forum. It published it today, I believe, or maybe yesterday, of the willingness to require mandatory vaccinations versus not wanting mandatory vaccination. And then the gray would be they don't know whether they would want it or not want it forced. Well, what was frightening is there's a huge, according to the Economic Forum, and I don't trust the Economic Forum and Charles Schwab further than I can throw a stick. But anyway, there is way too many people that they're reporting that think this should be forced on humanity, something to invade your body, something that we don't even have, and we're just now 2.5, not 2.5, but a little over 2 years since the COVID alleged pandemic started. We're starting to get data that was supposed to be hid from us 75 years. What's with this hiding data for 75 years? The fact is that already we have teams of good citizens around the world that are looking at I think it was 55,000 pages that was released. And they're just dissecting it and reading it. And we're already, over the weekend, since it came out Friday, we're getting reports about the humongous side effects, all associated with everything we've seen, and many other derogatory impacts. So my goodness, to see a thing where countries are getting full of a population that would impose dictatorial invasion of your body like being raped. Anyway, this is such a sad state of affairs. God is our help. And when you're a godless society and you have no faith, then the state is God. And you have to have the state serve and do things. And you must have little gods ordering people around. And this is where you get the idea that there's a race or a smarter race over another. And this is how you kill people. And this is such foolishness. Our country was built upon the value of an individual, individualism. Individual rights come from God. We're the only nation that declares it. All other countries, except for the Bible's law of Moses that elevated the individual to the highest level of importance in God's eyes. This collectivism, where the ends justify the means, the rule of the majority, is going to be the demise of us all if we don't start understanding the difference between collectivism and individualism, and understanding that wherever did the collective ever serve the population well? There is no history of it at all. Even in the Bible, the people who were given the word that elevated the value of one human soul to be so important, they abused it. So this is so sad. Anyway, so let's go on. Let's getting off here on the track on a rant. Let's see. So yeah, sycophant, you need to see a good doctor that can help you start working on your problems to detox and improve your microcirculation. EH said, thank you for answering my question. Carol said, thank you. Sycophant said, they told me your office wasn't accepting new patients until September. I'm in Texas. All right, well, in ACAM, if you go to acam.org, then you should be able to find a doctor. The American Academy for the Advancement of Medicine usually attracts good doctors who are willing to think out of the box, so you should be able to find someone out there. Susie says, hi, Dr. Rita. I had a doctor's data toxic metals urine test. Test said lead should be under 1.2. Mine was greater than 20. Black bar went in through the red. Regular or enhanced chelation IVs help. Approximately how many? Well, yeah, that's not uncommon. That is how toxic our world is. So I would have you watch my YouTube on the truth about chelation therapy. I did that about 2 years ago. Even low levels of lead are associated with all-cause mortality. So I would start with enhanced chelation once a week until I see you. That's the general guidance. Now, again, this isn't the source upon which we give individual advice, but whenever we see elevated levels, the standard is, or the standard even taught at ACAM, is once a week enhanced chelation for about 30 of them. Some doctors do 40, but I retest at 30 to see how much you have reduced that lead total, and that's what I would do. So Christina said, thank you. Sycophant and Wideawake says, I don't trust them either, or the UN. Yeah, there you go. Garden Fairy, hi. Just wanted to encourage Sycophant. My plantar fasciitis went away after decreasing carbs and sugar. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. And then she said, thank you, Dr. Garden Fairy, and thank you, Dr. Rita. Appreciate you so much. We appreciate you, Sycophant and Wide Awake, for coming and joining us here at the TLC Health Freedom Tribe. Thank you for sharing. Again, remember to like and subscribe, share with your friends, and that at 10 o'clock this Friday, we'll have a follow-up. So we do this twice a week. And then, let's see, Denise says, I get nocturnal leg and or foot cramps even after taking 1,600 milligrams of magnesium and 400 milligrams of calcium citrate before bed. Anything else I can do to prevent the cramps? Yeah, I would use the TLC multi-mineral because it sounds like you're missing the potassium in there. So we have several minerals in there, and if you take 3 of those, that should do it for you, 3 or 4 of them. So I think you're missing the potassium component of that, Denise. Margot, I have video but no sound. All right, well, maybe they're shutting me down because I'm a little over an hour. I want to say thank you so much to the TLC Health Freedom Tribe. Again, like her. Oh, Margot said, okay, it's back. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe. Share with your family and friends this Friday at 10 a.m. May God bless and keep us all. All right, bye-bye.